June 1944. The skies over Italy are a graveyard for the inexperienced. Every morning, heavy bombers of the 15th Air Force claw into the air from dusty Italian fields, bound for the oil refineries of Ploiești and the factories of Vienna. And every morning, the Luftwaffe rises to meet them. These are not desperate rookies thrown into the sky during the final months of the war. These are survivors, hardened veterans with 50, 80, even 100 victories painted on their rudders, men who have been fighting since the Battle of Britain. They fly the Messerschmitt Bf 109 Golf and the Focke-Wulf 190, fast, lethal machines flown by pilots who know exactly how American fighters die. Into this meat grinder walks Second Lieutenant Robert "Bob" Goebel. He is 19 years old. He looks 16. Back home in Rhinelander, Wisconsin, he is not even old enough to legally buy a beer. He has a baby face, a quiet demeanor, and a uniform that hangs slightly too loose on his thin frame. When he steps into the officers' club for the first time, the room falls silent. Veteran pilots stop drinking and stare. They do not see reinforcement. They see a dead man walking. Someone quietly starts a betting pool. How long will the kid last? The smart money says 2 weeks. But Bob Goebel has a secret. He is not flying on adrenaline. He is not flying on patriotism. He is flying on physics. While other cadets spent their nights drinking during flight school, Goebel studied. He memorized enemy turn rates. He calculated energy loss in 3G versus 6G maneuvers. He treated aerial combat not as a test of courage, but as a geometry problem where mistakes were fatal. On his first missions, he stays quiet. He flies tight wingman, glued to his leader's tail. He watches. He learns. He studies how German aces bait American pilots, the split S-trap, the sun-blind ambush, the feigned drag. He catalogs every maneuver like a student preparing for a final exam. Then comes July 18th, 1944. The target is Memmingen Airfield in southern Germany. A deep penetration mission, the 31st Fighter Group is escorting flying fortresses across the Alps, jagged white peaks stretching far below. Goebel is flying his P-51 Delta Mustang, the Flying Dutchman, one of the finest fighters of the war, fast, long-legged, and deadly. But to the enemy, he is still just a rookie. As the formation nears the target, the radio erupts. Bandits, 12 o'clock high, 40 plus. A massive wave of German fighters dives out of the sun, and the sky explodes into chaos. Over the target, the sky becomes chaos. Contrails twist into spirals. Tracer fire slices the air. Bombers hold formation while German fighters dive straight through them, firing cannon bursts at point-blank range. The radio fills with shouted warnings, broken call signs, and half-finished sentences. Second Lieutenant Goebel's flight. Leader rolls into the fight. Goebel stays glued to his wing. They bounce a pair of German fighters crossing below them. The leader fires and misses, then brakes hard to the left. Goebel follows, and that is when it happens. A yellow-nosed Messerschmitt Bf 109 flashes across their path. The German pilot is experienced. He performs a perfect high-side yo-yo, trading altitude position, rolling down onto the American leader's tail. The radio screams, "Brake! Brake! I've gotten on my 6!" Goebel has less than a second to react. Standard doctrine says turn hard into the attack, bleed speed, force and overshoot. But Goebel sees the geometry differently. If he turns hard, he loses energy. The German already has the speed advantage. The moment Goebel slows, the enemy will climb, loop, and kill him in the stall. So Goebel does the opposite of what a panicked rookie would do. He pushes the stick forward. The G-forces vanish. Drag disappears from the wings. The Mustang surges forward like it has been kicked by a giant. Goebel dives, not away from the fight, but underneath it. The German ace sees the move and dismisses it instantly. Another frightened American running for home. That assumption seals his fate. Goebel dives 2,000 feet, his airspeed climbing past 400 miles per hour. Then, gently, smoothly, he pulls back on the stick. All that stored speed turns into altitude. The Mustang rockets upward in a steep spiral climb. The German pilot never looks down. Goebel erupts from below, directly into the enemy's blind spot. He does not fire immediately. He waits. He measures distance. 400 yards, 300, 200. The German is in a shallow bank. Goebel calculates the lead, 2 plane lengths. He squeezes the trigger. A 2-second burst. 6 50-caliber machine guns converge on the Messerschmitt's wing root. The fuel tank ignites. The German fighter disintegrates in a ball of fire. Goebel does not celebrate. He does not shout on the radio. He immediately rolls inverted and dives again. Speed is life. He has just killed a veteran ace using math, patience, and discipline. Back at base, the gun camera footage plays in silence. The veterans watch the dive, the zoom climb, the precision shot. "Who flew that?" the squadron commander asks. "The kid," someone answers. The commander nods slowly. He flies like an old man. It is the highest compliment a fighter pilot can receive. By August 1944, the dead man walking had become something else entirely. Robert Goebel was now an ace. 5 confirmed victories in less than a month. The betting in the officers' club stopped. The drinks started appearing on his table instead. But even now, the veterans did not fully understand how the quiet kid from Wisconsin kept winning. Goebel did not fly like the others. Most American pilots were aggressive brawlers. They used the P-51's speed to slash through enemy formations, firing long bursts, and trusting the Mustang's strength to get them home. They fought with brute force. Goebel fought with restraint. He knew the Messerschmitt Bf-109 Golf could turn tighter than a Mustang at low speeds because of its leading-edge slats. He knew the Focke-Wulf 190 had a terrifying roll rate that could reverse direction instantly. So he refused to play their game. He kept his speed high. He avoided turning fights unless he held the advantage. He forced every engagement into the vertical. His crew chief noticed something strange. The Flying Dutchman almost never came back with bullet holes. One day, wiping oil from the cowling, the sergeant asked him, "Do the Germans even shoot at you?" Goebel smiled. "They shoot," he said quietly, "just not where I am." But the Luftwaffe was adapting. German commanders realized the Mustangs were bleeding them dry. They ordered their best remaining pilots to hunt the escort fighters directly. Cut the head off the snake. On August 18, 1944, over the oil fields of Ploiești, Goebel found himself alone. Flak burst around him like black flowers. His wingman had vanished during a chaotic dive. At 24,000 feet, Goebel spotted a single aircraft high at his 3 o'clock position. It stayed just inside the sun's glare. He did not turn toward it. He checked the sun angle. He checked his speed. He understood immediately. He is hunting me. Goebel leveled his wings and pretended not to notice. He became the bait. The German pilot dove, a Messerschmitt Bf-109K4, the fastest piston fighter Germany had. Cannon fire cracked past Goebel's tail. Shrapnel peppered the rudder. Goebel did not panic. Instead, he pulled his nose upward and chopped the throttle to idle. It was suicide, unless you understood physics. The German closed too fast. He could not slow down. He shot past Goebel's canopy, missing by feet. Now the fight became a rolling scissors, a slow-motion knife fight in the sky. Both pilots balanced on the edge of a stall, trading altitude for position. The German grew aggressive. He pulled too hard. The airflow broke. The Messerschmitt stalled. Goebel waited, then dove. 200 yards. No deflection needed. The Mustang's guns tore the tail off the German fighter. The enemy pilot bailed out. Goebel circled once and tipped his wing. Class dismissed. By September, German prisoners spoke of a Mustang pilot who refused to dogfight. "He waits," one said. "He traps you. It is like fighting a calculator." By October 1944, the war in the air had changed. The Luftwaffe was no longer relying on skill alone. It was gambling on technology. Over Vienna, Goebel saw something that made his blood run cold. A white streak climbing almost vertically from the ground. It was not artillery. It was a rocket-powered interceptor. The Messerschmitt comet shot past, 30,000 feet in seconds, leveled off, and tore through the bomber's stream at impossible speed. Goebel pushed his Mustang to the limit, but it was hopeless. The comet vanished into the sun as quickly as it had appeared. Goebel understood immediately. His math was becoming obsolete. But instead of panicking, he studied. The comet burned fuel for only a few minutes. After that, it became a powerless glider. The Messerschmitt 262 jet was faster than any Mustang, but its engines were fragile and slow to accelerate. Speed was not the weakness, timing was. "We do not chase them," Goebel told his flight. "We wait for them to come home." It was called rat-catching, hunting jets as they landed. It was dangerous. Enemy airfields were surrounded by flak. But on final approach, even the fastest jet was slow, heavy, and nearly out of fuel. On October 22nd, Goebel led 4 Mustangs toward an airfield near Linz. They waited high in the sun. When 2 jets returned, from an intercept, landing gear down and flaps extended, Goebel gave the order. "Drop tanks!" The Mustangs dove. 1 jet exploded before it reached the runway. The second pilot panicked and slammed the throttles forward. The engines flamed out. A wingman finished the kill. 2 wonder weapons destroyed in seconds, not by speed, but by thinking. By November, Goebel was a captain at barely 20 years old. He enforced discipline. He punished recklessness. He saved lives by being cold, precise, and unforgiving of mistakes. On March 24, 1945, he scored his final victory against a Focke-Wulf 190 Dora, Germany's best piston fighter. He won the fight the same way he always had: energy, patience, geometry. By war's end, Robert Goebel had flown 61 missions and claimed 11 victories. He went home quietly, studied physics, and rarely spoke of the war. Years later, his ideas became doctrine: energy management, vertical fighting, situational awareness, concepts still taught to modern fighter pilots. Goebel passed away in 2011, but his legacy remains. He proved you do not have to be the strongest or the loudest to survive. You just have to be the smartest.